Hello, hello. Welcome to the 100th episode of Chefy's Sandbox, which then turned into the Sandbox. So, whichever one you're familiar with, you're in the right place. Welcome. Again, thanks for celebrating this milestone with me. This is, in case you didn't catch the previous episode, this is going to be the very last episode of this podcast. And it's bittersweet. And this has definitely not been a singular journey. I've had so many awesome guests along the way grace the podcast with their wisdom and their own special sauce. And I thought it was very fitting if for this 100th episode that I had people who have been guests on the show before send in video submissions letting us know what they're doing now. What's changed for them since they originally appeared on the show, which for some of these people was over 5 years ago, and how you can connect with them in the here and now and support them. I thought it would be even that much more interesting and fun if I was watching these with you. So the only one that I have watched is the very first one that came in, and this one is from Jean Manuel. So let's take a listen to see what Jean has to say.
Congratulations, April, episode number 100 of the Sandbox for your podcast. I'm very proud of you. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of planning, a lot of thinking, and just a lot of fortitude of being able to host a podcast and be able to do all the publishing and all that behind that. And so number 100, that's a big achievement. I was honored to be a guest on episode number 15 with you back in August of 2020. We're interested in hearing my thoughts about overcoming adversity and finding work in my career. A very tumultuous, very topsy-turvy, timey-wimey, all over the place career of finding jobs, getting laid off, finding jobs, getting laid off, and in the IT industry and in particular. And so we had a lot of fun with that. We talked about my career, all the cool, interesting places that I've worked, the kind of work that I do. We talked about family, we talked about life and being able to manage all of that. And it was fascinating, it was fun. I really enjoyed that, and again, I'm glad you brought me on early for that, and to be guest number 15 and to be back to talk about where I am now was great. So from that podcast standpoint, from my career, I continue to fall upwards. I am one of those weird, stupid, lucky people that manage to keep going and to find better things every time I get something happens. So in fact, 2020 is right around when I started my new second journey, my career within the ServiceNow platform. ServiceNow being an enterprise support platform. A lot of big companies use it. And I actually became a poster child, a spokesperson for them, not working directly for ServiceNow, but being one of those champions of getting people to get outside to try a new career, because they're trying to get a lot of people to become developers and support the platform. So I was part of their Rise Up campaign, and then I went to New York. I shot some video, did a documentary, we did some promo photo shoots. I even had a big banner of me that was hung up at a conference that I have had at one point. Now, it was fun. It was great. I was so honored and privileged by ServiceNow to be able to do that and talk about how I managed to make one transition to another, big jump from one platform to another. And then, of course, the big thing, June 9th, 2023, I lost my lovely wife, Becca. She was 51. She had a history of heart issues and strokes, and they caught up to her suddenly. It was very, very quick, died in my arms, and it was traumatic. It hurt. It still hurts. It hasn't even been 2 years yet. I think we're 700 days into it. I struggle with it. I've been sharing a lot of my journey with my friends online and writing a few articles on Medium and posting some videos on LinkedIn to my colleagues. And I was overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support, but not just my friends and family, obviously. Becca's friends, the folks that she worked with, people in her industry, in my industry, my career, a lot of the companies, my clients, former clients are reaching out to me and helping out and checking in on me. And it was great. And myself and, of course, the kids, Carter and Emmy. When that something like that of that magnitude happens to you, you sort of take on a new perspective. Things suddenly become different. And in the time that she died, I obviously wanted to focus more on the kids. And I watched Carter turn 21. Becky fell short of just a couple of months of watching her son, her little Bubba, turn 21. He went on this amazing train journey across the U.S. that he planned himself. My daughter, Emmy, traveled to the U.K. to be with her boyfriend. They are amazing, amazing people. And I credit that all to Becky. It's not like everyone says, oh, no, you're part of that too now. No, all that love and all of that kindness, all that drive that they got is from their mother. So I was happy to support them for that. We have our moments. We have moments where it's just an absolute low, where it's just absolutely terrible. There was moments, again, where I was given quite a bit of time to heal and to go through the grieving process. I'm still going through it. That's never going to change. But my office and my company said, here, take the time you need. And I came back and I tried. I've been trying. It's difficult sometimes to do what I was doing and being the face of the organization and to be this. They call me a rock star. I'm not a rock star. I had fun with it. Yeah, I managed to get in front of an audience of 3,000 partners and salespeople and folks from ServiceNow, talk about my journey. But priorities change. When you have somebody that you loved and adored, that was your soulmate for 28 years, who is this amazing person, so kind and loving and compassionate and creative and smart and funny and everything. She was my life. And she's gone. And so I backed off on a lot of things that I was doing for other people. I spent the better part of 15 years doing volunteer work, doing all this career stuff, and then all of a sudden it didn't matter. None of it mattered. I just need to try to figure out where I need to go, because I'm like, we had plans. I bought a lovely new car. We had plans to travel. We had plans to do some fun stuff, and all of that's gone. All of that's changed. All of that is no longer in my life. And so again, with career, all of a sudden it doesn't matter. Take care of the clients that I have and work with the folks that I work that are very, very, very patient with me and very kind and understanding. And it can be frustrating to work with somebody who's grieving, because you're like, the littlest things will set you off. The PTSD will kick in at the weirdest, strangest times. And so it's now a struggle sometimes to get through a meeting when you're just like, I can't think of anything else but her, or I can't think of anything else but the kids, or I get distracted by that. And it's hard to focus, and you just, like, I don't know how long I can do this. I still have another 15, 20 years to go. But I'll figure it out. One of the things that in the days and weeks after Becky died is people reminded me, you need to breathe. Breathe. And then I started thinking, what would Becky do? What would Becca do? And that became my hashtag of sorts, WWBD, and breathe, and try to continue on. And so I have. It gets better. I've been put on a lovely project that I'll be rolling off here and starting some new work. Same company, just that's the nature of what I do as a senior architect. So I have folks that I'm helping to mentor and counsel. So still supporting them, and I've backed off of some of my volunteer work. I'm doing some fun stuff that I've always wanted to do, and Becky got to do part of it too. She got to do some auto racing with me and meeting some new folks. And speaking of meeting new folks, one of the most amazing, strangest, stupid things will happen when you are in this process of losing somebody you've been with intimately and closely for 28 years. And I reconnected with somebody that I was very fond of in high school. Allie and I went through a lot of stuff in high school, a lot of drama, everything that you'd go through in high school drama. And she was always there in my mind because she was so, oh my goodness, her and Becky, kind, compassionate. She was very headstrong and very stubborn about protecting the ones that she loved and living up to her promises and just putting herself in front of others And so she just happens to live another city over. And I went over and had lunch with her one day, and it just sort of all reconnected. We have our moments where we get a chance to meet up. She's been this amazing soul again that has very patient with me, very open and very kind and understanding about my relationship with Becky. And so I honestly had set had a goal or standards or rules or whatever you want to call it. I just said that there could not possibly be anybody else in this world that would want to be hanging out with a widower at 51 who's got 2 adult children, that would understand what I've gone through or going through. Turns out I had this ridiculous set of like, they would have to be this, and this, and Allie just happens to be everything that falls into that list. And we have our challenges. It's not anything like the relationship I have with Becky, but I love her. I love her. I love Becky. I love my kids. I love a lot of people. You know, that's one of the things that I learned when you're in this grieving process is you need to remember to tell people that you love them, and make it weird. I tell my friends that all the time. I love them. Because I do, and that's what we need now in this world more than ever, is to remind each other that we are here together, and while we are here together, we need to be kind and generous, and we need to love one another. And that was Becky, unconditional love. She always had that for other people. She always had that for the marginalized, for those that are different, that don't fit in. Maybe that's why she fell in love with me, because I was certainly not your typical person. Strange, weird, kooky, outspoken sometimes, and I can't imagine now Becky and Allie what they see in me, but and my work continues as I sit here in downtown Houston. I just got out of a meeting, and I will carry on. I will try to I will breathe. And I am very, again, grateful. Congratulations again, April, for number 100. Again, having a podcast of that magnitude, of the things that you talk about and the subjects that you cover, is amazing. And so happy for you, and looking forward to another 100 maybe, and maybe chatting again. So thank you so much. Hope that gets y'all caught up on where I am, and we will see you later. Love y'all.
Make it weird. I love that. So Gene has gone on to start his own podcast. It's called Beyond the Edge of Ordinary, and he invited me onto his podcast, and I think I'm on episode number 3. Unfortunately, on my end, the audio was really bad. But anyway, that is really fun. And he credits me partially for being the motivation behind starting his podcast. And I think that's just wild. There's just no telling what message you're giving out, or what permission slip or what inspiration you're providing just by doing you. So yeah, that's so wild. And I wish this podcast the best of luck. It's all about ordinary people. We all have our own story. And I love that he sits with his guests and pulls out the thread and the strength and the resilience, which are all things that he himself is living through right now as he's still grieving the loss of his wife. I know Gene better than I knew his wife, but I learned that his wife was something of a rock star in her field. She was Becca the bibliophile, and I think that she did reviews on romance novels, and in that universe of romance novels, with the writers and the readers, like, her opinion was Bible. So I thought that was really neat, just to be able to say, oh yeah, I I know her. I did work with her once when she helped me design. So I self-published, but I needed to have the book formatted in such a way that it would be acceptable. And so what she did is help me format it. And we went through and chose the different fonts for this or that, like what we want the page numbers to look like. And she was really, really sweet, because I had very particular uh things about the way I wanted it to look. And it's not like I knew going into it what I wanted because this was all new to me. But as soon as she, pulled it up, I'd be like, this doesn't look right, or can we do this or that, try something else? And she was so gracious and we got it together. So if you read the paperback version of my book, Sandra, A Healing Reimagining of the Babysitter from Hell, and you look in one of the first pages of the book, it will credit her with the formatting of the interior. So, yeah, my heart really goes out to Gene. And when I go on to his podcast, we talk a lot more about grief process. So, yeah, check that out if you can handle the bad audio on my end. So, all right, let's see who we have next.
Hey there, my name is Vincent Van Patten, and I was on episode number 39 of the Sandbox podcast. At that time, I just self-published my first book called Arrows of Youth, and since then, I have been doing a lot of writing and a lot of traveling. I spent 2 months living and working at a youth hostel in Lisbon, Portugal, and then I was working on a farm in Calabria, Italy. And I actually just published my second book, which is about that experience, and it's called When the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer. And after that, living in Europe, I moved to Japan, and actually I spent 2.5 years living in Japan. I was working as an English teacher, and I was also just writing about everything. So just telling my stories of traveling and experiencing a really beautiful way of life over there. And I just got back, so to stay updated with what I'm doing, I'd love you to just check out the book, When the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer, on Amazon, and that can be found wherever you are in the world.
Okay, so that was Vinny. Yeah, I followed his adventures on Instagram, and it was just really cool to see all the places he went. Like his love for Japan really came through. It was so exciting to live vicariously through his pictures that he was posting. And I will say that Vincent has such a magical way with words. I would call him a poet because it takes these feelings, and I'm sure I'm not speaking just for myself, but he's able to take these feelings and angst, or like these things that are just below the surface. He's able to bring it up to the surface and put words to it in such a poetic and beautiful way that it helps you acknowledge what it is that you're feeling and process it and decide, okay, how do I want to move forward? And his work focuses, I encourage you to subscribe to his Substack. It's like medicine. It's medicine for your soul, but it's not a bunch of fluff. I feel like sometimes there could be a tendency in some people's work to just be superficial and maybe do some spiritual bypassing, if you want to call it that, or just take or look at the world with rose-colored glasses. This feels so real. It's gritty, but at the same time, it's so uplifting. It's so hopeful. It's weird how both are true at the same time. It's not dismissing some of the painful realities of life and the challenges. It's able to kind of even dig into those topics and own it and still find the power to move forward and to love with and keep your heart open. It's just a beautiful way of moving through the world, and to be able to see the world through his eyes, it really does help your heart to open. And so, yeah, I would encourage any of you to subscribe to his Substack. And then he is still doing, I believe, the podcast, the Dare to Dream podcast, and they've had a ton of episodes. They've really gotten it together on that podcast. It's a really well put together thing that they have. It's beautiful. And I did reach out to his co-host, and he did not respond with a video submission. But I will tell you that I guess he's a little famous too because he did a TEDx talk, and it was really, really cool. That was Gregory Benedict. Feel free to Google that video. It's really amazing how he and Vincent both are incredible people who live in the moment. It's so exciting because so many of us are tempted to like either live in the future with anxiety, or we're living in regret or memories in the past. And they both exemplify what it means to live in the moment and the magic and the life force that is present in that. So, yeah, check out Gregory Benedict's work as well and their podcast that they do together, Dare to Dream. All right, let's see who's next.
Hi, I am Brittany, and I was on the Sandbox episode number 37. What has changed for me since? Let's see, I have absolutely enjoyed remaining in the state of Virginia and living here with my family. I am the owner and lead artist for my company, Izzy B Makeup, which was named after my dog, Izzy. She sadly passed away in November of last year. And I feel like since that big change, it has been a push in a direction towards just really honoring my business more than ever. Because her name's on it, I really do feel connected even more so to my business in a strange way. That sounds kind of weird, I think, in a way, but it doesn't to me. It's my spiritual connection to Izzy. So I have been really working on my business more than ever. Izzy B Makeup. How can you support me? That's a great question. The smallest way and the biggest way you can support my company or my business is by going on Instagram or my website and just giving it some love. Specifically on Instagram, you can like my reels and posts, and that can really help me get in the algorithm towards clients. So that would be really helpful. And then, I think I'm on TikTok, but I don't typically use TikTok. But yeah, I want to say happy anniversary, 100 episode anniversary to you, April. You're an inspiration and have the most lovely energy. And I say high five to you for just giving so much love to the world through this podcast.
That was sweet. Thank you, Brittany. Yeah, I've been encouraging her to maybe resume her. I've been giving little hints. Maybe she could restart her Patreon, but we'll see what she ends up doing. But yeah, I feel for her in the loss of her dog. You know, my profile picture is still of um, on my social media. I think it's on Facebook, if not Instagram as well. My personal account, it's still of me and my dog Freckles. There's a special connection. That's all I can say. I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah. I'm so sorry to hear about the loss of your pup, and I'm glad that you have so many memories in this business that's named after her. I think that's a beautiful way of honoring her. So, okay, let's see who's next on our list.
Hello, everybody. I'm Janaea Barnes. You may remember me from episode number 30. That was a few years ago, 4 years ago, in fact, quite a while. And a lot has changed for me since then. Back in those days, I worked a lot with the subconscious mind to heal trauma and help people elevate their life. I called myself an elevation guide. It was an accurate description of the work that I was doing. But today, I work with entrepreneurs to grow their business and have fun doing it. The key really there is to have fun doing it. You hear successful people talk about how you have to enjoy the process And so that's one of the things that I really help people do. Plus, get over those plateaus or that yo-yoing of the up and down finances that never seems to be that steady growth that entrepreneurs are looking for. And the other thing that I really help them do is to help them be able to have it all. So often, when one area of life starts to go really well, another area of life suffers. And so, for the entrepreneurs who want to have that full life, a great relationship, good health, enjoy their friendships and their connections, as well as having a successful business that they love running, that's what I help people do. I still work with the subconscious mind because a lot of the things that are preventing those things from happening are something within you that is causing you to repeat patterns and keep things at the same level. So I work with people to expand their success zone, which essentially, let me read you a description of what the success zone is. So my definition of the success zone is it's the upper limit of the amount of success that you can maintain and enjoy without stress or self-sabotage. I know a lot of people feel that once they start getting really successful, there's more to do and they have more responsibility. And so it gets harder and harder and harder. But when you expand your success zone, you can maintain that success without the stress or without worrying that you're going to somehow self-sabotage it. And the other piece is it's the place where you can be 100% yourself in all circumstances around any person. And for most people, they are looking to make other people happy or impress other people. And that's not your success zone. Your success zone is that place where you don't have to do that. You get to just fully be who you are without concern about what somebody else is going to think. And when you operate that way, that's where you create the magic that is you. It's where you create really beautiful products. It's where you create success and joy and happiness in your business and in life. So these days, I call myself a performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I love what I do. And I do want to be transparent here. Part of my journey was watching my business swirl down the tubes. I was doing all the right things. I was following all the guides from the coaches and the business gurus, and I didn't get the success that I thought I should have. I didn't get the success that all those programs promised me. And I know a lot of other people have felt that way. And it was for me, my success zone was too small to actually hold the kind of success, hold and maintain the kind of success that I really wanted and to make the impact that I really wanted. And once I cracked the code to expanding the success zone, everything changed for me. And a lot of my clients were always entrepreneurs, and things started to change for them. Their businesses stabilized and started growing on an upward trajectory. So that is really why I switched what I was doing. I took some time off and I cultivated and created a whole new program specifically for entrepreneurs. I tested it for almost 2 years, running a whole bunch of people through it to make sure that it did everything that I thought it would, and it does. And so that's where I'm at. I am loving my business. I am growing my business. I'm helping other people love and grow their business. And yeah, it feels really amazing. And I really like to look at one of the byproducts of the work that I do is I really help people unleash the truth and the true power of who they are. And so my tagline is when you unleash the power of you, humanity evolves. Oh, and I also had my own podcast. So I did this podcast long before I had my own podcast. And I also just hit my 100th episode, and my podcast is called Be the Wolf. So if you're an entrepreneur who's looking for business tips, business strategy, I have guests, and I talk a lot about the success zone and what you need to do to expand it so that you can have more success and you can hold it. So thank you, April, for reaching out and asking to find out what I'm up to these days. So that's what I'm up to in a nutshell. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Bye, everyone.
That is cool. Okay, so Janaea, congratulations on your 100th episode for your podcast. And that's really interesting about the success zone and how if we don't expand it, we can self-sabotage. I have several 12th house placements in my natal chart, and the 12th house was traditionally associated with that of self-undoing. So yeah, I'm not a stranger to that concept. One of the interesting things was as I was realizing that I was going to be wrapping up my online business and the podcast, I pulled out a deck of cards. It's by Teal Swan, and it's called the Inner Compass deck. And it's not a tarot or oracle deck in this traditional sense, but it's a huge deck. It's a huge deck, and each one has a value on it. And so I used that, and I pulled 5 cards, and I asked Spirit, okay, what is it that I need to be concentrating on moving forward? If it's not the podcast, it's not this business, what is it? And the cards that I pulled were physical health, which I found really fascinating because Saturn has entered Aries, right? Which is in my 6th house of physical health. And I had even hired a personal trainer just to get me familiar with the equipment and really feel like, okay, I belong here because I've gone to the gym before in the past, but I never had a trainer. And so I always felt so self-conscious about if I was using the machines right, what machines should I use? I had no idea what I was doing. So I felt like just a poser. But now with this training, at least I know when I go in there now, like, okay, I belong here. I'm paying my dues. I've gotten the building blocks with how to do this. And I feel like Saturn has been bringing this requirement for structure and responsibility to that aspect of my physical health. So I thought that was really fascinating. I'm supposed to be concentrating my physical health. The second card was calm. And I have recently finished, well, if you were on Instagram, you might have seen this, but I was doing the 30-day nervous system challenge. You were encouraged 30 days to create your own commitment, but at least 5 minutes a day towards some type of nervous system care practice. And this was run by Amanda Barnett of barneyandflow.com. They ended up offering that for free to anyone who wanted to do it. And it was just really cool because she gave us lots of practices to support our our nervous system depending on what we needed. Like if we were like depressed, there were these really quick exercises that we could do to amp up our sympathetic system, right? To kind of get that life force pumping and moving us. And then on the opposite direction, if there was too much anxiety or yeah, too much adrenaline, just hyper vigilant, then she gave us plenty of very simple, immediate practices you could do to support the parasympathetic system to kind of help regulate and self-soothe. And those were like keywords that I had been needing. And so some of those practices I felt were exactly what I had been missing all along because depending on who you listen to, It can sound so easy, right? Like just change your thinking. But what I've learned is that, okay, just because your mind is saying something doesn't mean that your body believes it. And if your body is not feeling safe, it's not really going to hold this wisdom and it's going to be sabotaging. You're going to be doing this self-sabotage thing. So, yeah, it's really a matter of taking care of the body and regulating and not stuffing emotions, but naming it and addressing it, accepting it, and moving it. And how do you really do that? So that was really great. Check Amanda's work out at barneyandflo.com. Her nervous system stuff is really, really great. And yeah, once my body feels regulated, then it can be like, okay, I'm safe to now think a different way because there's so many things that if people just tell you, okay, you're looking at it wrong, okay, well, nothing else feels accessible to me in this moment because my primal survival instincts are on high alert and something's triggering that sense of survival. And those things that they were offering weren't accessible. So building from the body up has been really great. Okay, the third card I pulled was generosity, and I loved that. And I think part of what this whole release, this surrender, as Dana at Self Help Witch has been saying on her podcast recently, this has been a time of surrender. And for me, surrendering the podcast and my websites online, it's it's allowing me to be more generous because in the past, I felt like if I was putting something out there, then I wanted something reciprocated. I wanted to be reciprocal. And I just couldn't understand why no one seemed to want what I was putting out there. There were no clients for any of the things. So in this way, I feel like it's even further removing any expectation. For my last Patreon perk, I sent my patrons their personalized card pull for the new moon. I said, hey, this is gonna be the last one, last Patreon perk, so I'm closing it down. However, if you ever, and I put ever in all caps, want like a reading, a card pull, anything from me, please let me know, and I'll be happy to do that as a friend. I'm not going to be doing this as April the podcaster or April the dreamtranslator.com or April of dragonrosetarot.com or as April of sandboxalchemy.com. It's just going to be April. And in a way that feels freeing. It takes away the need for this to pay for itself, right? Pay for the website and the email and the time. Honestly, the time that I put into it, this is just going to open it up to a whole new level of generosity is what I'm hoping. All right, the fourth card that I pulled from that deck was respectability. So you can always look at that as respectability, like how others see you. But as ChatGPT was telling me, it's also about how I feel about myself. And I loved that. So let's come on to the next one. And the last card was ecology. And it seemed like a little bit weird, but it's not because in two ways. One, ecology reminds you that you are part of something bigger. And like maybe you are just a drop in the ocean, but right, you're also the ocean in a drop. This idea of ecology kind of takes the burden off of you to carry the world on your shoulders, or like, hey, I'm responsible for everything. Oh gosh. Sometimes I have a tendency to be overly responsible for things that aren't even mine to carry. And it's like, you know what? My contribution to the greater whole, the greater wellness, is me investing in myself and making sure that I am happy and healthy. And just that in itself is helping the collective ecology. And the second thing was also let ecology support me. And if you've been following me on my personal, or I guess professional social media pages, you see that I really love nature. I don't think I've really gone into it on my podcast, but there's some trauma last year, some major life changes, not living in the same place anymore, not doing the same things anymore. It's just really wild how much has changed so quickly. But nature, where I'm living now, I have found nature to be just a sanctuary, and it has helped heal me in ways that I don't know that anything else could. So just the silence and the ability to sit and feel the now moments. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, it's just been great. So physical health, calm, generosity, respectability, and ecology. Going back to respectability, it reminds me that when I was talking to my counselor last week, she said that we were going to start talking about my self-esteem when we meet again. So yeah, respectability and just putting as much value on what I have to say and provide and give as I do on someone else. Okay, so that was a little bit of a tangent. I wasn't expecting to go through that, but when she was talking about success and the success zone, that and just reminded me, okay, those 5 pillars are going to be like where my success zone is going to be building for the near future. But yeah, check out Janae's podcast, Be the Wolf. And again, congratulations, Janaea, for 100 episodes. All right, let's see who's next.
Hi, my name is Raven Song, and I was on episode 73 of The Sandbox. Since then, I have moved to the country just north of Houston and got to plant all the things to my heart's content in my own garden as large as I wanted to make it. I've also helped to host a women's retreat since then. It's called Women of the Wild. You can still find that on Instagram. And currently, I'm hosting my own sound baths, drum circles in the area. I also have a YouTube channel called One Life Mechanics, where I talk about things that are just difficult to put into words in this whole life experience. I'm also offering somatic therapy life coaching. All of the information you can find also on the YouTube. And I just wanted to thank the Sandbox for hosting me on your show. Thank you so much.
Raven Song has just this energy about her, doesn't she? She's so regal is the word I would use for her. And you can tell just by watching that or listening to that, but I think it's even more impactful if that were possible in person. You just get such a sense of this wisdom that she carries within her. She's an incredible person. Okay, let's see who's next.
Nancy Illman here from episodes 31 and 88. I'm going to give you a quick mural tour of my home while I tell you the new ways that you can support me since I was featured on the podcast. We talked about my spiritual hypnosis practice in episode 31, and I still love to do it, and I do it every week. I also have had a wonderful experience as the author of my memoir, Instigator of Joy, and I encourage you to reach out if you've read it or listened to it on Audible. Tell me what resonated for you. and what reflections you've had after reading it. I can't get enough of hearing from readers. The number one way you can support me today is letting me support you as a whole food plant-based coach. I can help you live longer and die faster, avoiding chronic disease, avoiding dementia, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, especially of the digestive tract. And I'm passionate about doing this. My clients set their own goals and set their own pace, and I support you every step of the way. So reach out to me at ncillman@gmail.com.
Nancy is so cool. She's always very colorful, and that's not just the way she dresses. It's her personality. If you were watching the visual version on YouTube, you can see all the murals in her house. It's very colorful. Nancy is not a boring person, and I have read her book, and I highly encourage you to either read it or get the Audible version, which I did both. I have an autographed copy of her book as well as listening to the Audible version, and she really does have such a fascinating life. And it's cool because she makes that accessible to all of us by becoming our own fairy godmothers. So I highly encourage you to check that out. All right, and it looks like up next we have Dan the Man. Mm.
Hello, April, and hello, listeners of the Sandbox. April, I just wanted to say congratulations on your 100th episode. That is such an accomplishment, and I am so proud of you. For those of you who don't know, my name is Daniel Spain from Daniel Spain Massage and Bodywork, and I had the honor of being on the Sandbox not once, but twice. So episodes 41 and 42 is where you can find the interview that April did with me. So much has changed since I have been on the episodes. I think it was right around COVID or right after COVID, so the lockdown had happened. I was solely a massage therapist that was mobile, so I was going with my car to people's home and offices, and I also was working a lot with people online because I couldn't go anywhere in person. But through a lot of hard work, I now have my own office in a beautiful downtown. I share it with my friend that's a chiropractor, so him and I are working together to expand the wellness in our town. So super excited about that. My business also won Micro Business of the Year through the Novato Chamber of Commerce. And that was such an honor to receive that award. Also, just expanding the wellness in Novato has been so wonderful and beautiful. I still do a little bit online, but now that I have my office, I have a space that I created that's so wonderful and really allows my clients to go into deep relaxation. So if you'd like to follow me, Instagram is where you can find me, Dan_the_healer. And I also am gonna hopefully be starting a YouTube channel soon, but you can also go to my website, danthehealer.com, which I'm going to be updating and hopefully changing a few things around, but I would love to connect with you. So even if you just wanted to say hi. And once again, congratulations, April, to your 100th episode. So proud of you. And I cannot wait for 100, 200, 300 more. Keep going. Thanks for everything you do in this world.
Oh gosh, okay. I didn't know. I didn't think I was going to start getting emotional, but yeah, my heart was just getting full watching that. And as hearing him talk about his business, it reminded me what we had heard earlier about Izzy B being named after the pet. So Sheffy's Sandbox is what this started off as. And yeah, it's just kind of bittersweet in a way that this is ending because just like the Sheffy was my brother Adam's nickname. That's what he was known as Sheffy. And the podcast had been, I had originally envisioned it as a platform where me and one of my other brothers, Steven, could come together and talk about things. But he was never able to come onto the show, so it ended up being a thing that I proceeded to do by myself. And then I was trying to get people to call me Sheffy because I thought that would be really cute to have this nickname that would also remind me of my brother, but I never got traction. So, but yeah, it's just hitting that this thing that I had put my brother's name on, and I love him so much. If you listen to my appearance on Gene's podcast where we talk about grief, his death really is the thing that split me open and everything changed. So this thing that had his name on it is coming to an end, and you just hope that people who have gone on before that you love, that they'd be proud of you. And it's just awesome because he's the kind of person that had such an unconditional love for me that I know that he would be proud of me regardless. Yeah, I have no idea why this is hitting so hard. Other than, this is me having to release yet another piece of that. But, all right. All right. All right, Dan, I did not mean to get all teary-eyed. Dan is such an incredible person. He he feels so freaking safe to be around. And I know that word safe, some people they think we use it too much. But however you want to conceptualize safe, Daniel feels that way to me. It's like it doesn't matter if we haven't talked in 5 years. He's going to bring the same open-heartedness, the same love, the same enthusiasm to each and everything. And he really is cheerleading you and what you want to do in life. And he's excited about whoever he's interacting with. He's excited about them and he wants to hear about them. And he is just so loving and supportive. He's an amazing person. I wish I lived closer so that I could get an amazing massage, but maybe next time I'm on vacation, I'll make it out there. All right, let's see who's next.
Hi, this is Peggy Foster Rush. I want to congratulate April on her 100th episode and just really express my gratitude for the beauty that she brings out into the world and the great information. Purpose of this video is just to update you quickly on some of the things that have been going on with me in my world. I've been teaching classes on intuition. My husband and I in January drove 5,600 miles. Route 66 throughout the United States. It was absolutely beautiful. We stopped off in Sedona, where I did a retreat with 5 women on embodying the divine feminine. We did a combination of astrology in the morning and then hiking and visiting vortexes in the afternoon, and it was wonderful. I have been doing a lot of creating moon art, taking different moon shapes and making mandalas, and really enjoying what comes off the page and just enjoying playing with colors and spending time with the divine. Currently, my husband and I are walking. In fact, we walked 50 miles, 50 miles last week in preparation to walk the Portuguese Camino coming up in May. And we will also be preparing to spend some time in Ireland. I think more than anything else, since my visit with April, I've been trying to let the world be what it's going to be, tune in to my heart, know that all is well, and to know that each and every one of us is a spark of the divine. And that is what we came here to do. So, again, I congratulate April in the spark of the divine that she is and the gifts that she brings out into the world. And thank you for this time. This is Peggy Foster Rush of Peggy Foster Astrology. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Peggy is an amazing astrologer. I encourage you to check out her website, maybe book a reading. And thanks so much for the thoughtful, sweet words, Peggy. That was really nice. Okay, who is next?
Hi, I'm Monty Montan. I was in episode 93 of the Sandbox podcast, and April and I had a great conversation and discussed many parts of life and work and creativity and shared some fun words. And I, since then, have been continuing to do some self-exploration and what that means as a mother. I have a 20-month-old child, which means not a lot to some people and means everything to other people who count the months of their children. She's a year and a half plus a couple months. And so developing the balance between baby's needs, my needs, partner's needs, who I am as myself, as Monty, but also as mother. And I think it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. And because I don't like to take things lightly, I've also been moving my business forward as a stylist and working with clients one-on-one and in groups to help them create their own personal aesthetic, their language of aesthetics, as I like to call it, via their intuition, via connecting with that like deep, true, most authentic, genuine, radiant part of themselves. And I've also started a new project, which is in the very beginning stages and is about to be released to the world soon, which means more collaborations with really cool people, which means making relationships with some of the businesses in my neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. And it'll be really exciting to tell you more about that soon. But I've also been writing. I post regularly on my Substack, and that's under my name, Monty Montan. And I'm developing another Substack, a more styling-based Substack. So the current one is personal reflections on life and relationships and how I'm maneuvering those, not always so gracefully, but always for real, from a real place. So I'm excited to move into a Substack feature that's more about aesthetic and dressing and feeling your best and looking like your youest self. So check me out in some of those places. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Monty Montan. That's Montan. And my website is myname.com. Yeah. Come find me. Let's chat. I'd love to get to know more about you, and I can't wait to keep making stuff and hopefully see what you, fellow human, are making in the world. Big love. Take care.
Okay, so I wonder if by now that new project Monty mentioned has been birthed into the world, because as you might have noticed from the previous guest who was talking about an upcoming walk in May, some of the submissions came really quickly when I asked for them, and then some kind of trickled in later. It's taken me a while to get this together, but it's all perfect timing, I trust. So, but yeah, check out Monty's website. It is an adventure. It is an experience. Her website is. I've never seen anything like it, so it's really cool. And her Substack, she writes from a very real, beautiful, it's real and beautiful place. And I just encourage you, just like she was talking about dressing, the realist you, which made me think, like, I don't know if dressed the realist to me for this podcast, but hopefully hopefully my soul is shining through regardless. All right, thank you, Monty. And from the face that is showing up on my screen, this next guest, I believe this is going to be our last clip. So let's hear from Courtney.
Buddy, you start. Hello, everybody. I'm Courtney Starkey, the founder of Soul Empowering Hypnosis. My episode was number 45 back in 2022. And April asked me to provide some updates for you. And so I've got a little list of notes that I'll be referencing from time to time because there's so many really good, powerful, wonderful updates that I think that you will enjoy as much as I do. So the first big change is even though 2022 was only 3 years ago, and at the time I was living in Virginia, I had all of these hopes and dreams to move back to my beloved Hawaii. I've been wanting to move back there for about a full decade at that point. And I made it there. I ended up living there again for about half a year, but the universe had something which I couldn't even imagine at the time to be better, but something even better than me moving to Hawaii. And so actually before I moved to Hawaii, I started getting these messages during my hypnosis sessions, me as a client receiving hypnosis sessions from my SEH Soul Empowering Hypnosis certification students. I started getting these messages that I would be moving to Washington State. I did not see that coming. It's one of my favorite states in the United States. I love Hawaii, Arizona, and Washington. Those are my big three. So I wasn't mad at that suggestion or directive at all. It's just that my heart was so set on Hawaii. So even though the universe kept saying Washington, 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 I moved to Hawaii. And then a couple of months into being there, one of my students, SEH certification students, one of her practice clients who didn't really know me very well at all, she also got a message that I was supposed to move to Washington and got a lot of other really detailed information that lined up so perfectly with the wisdom that I was getting in my hypnosis sessions that she could not possibly know. And so as soon as I realized, okay, the universe is not kidding, I booked my flight to Washington. I notified my Hawaii landlord. I shipped my car that had just been shipped from Virginia to Hawaii all the way back to the mainland and to Washington. And so I ended up moving here in February of 2023, which means I've been here for a little more than 2 years. And this is by far my favorite place that I have ever lived. This is home. Again, I didn't see it coming, but I'm so, so happy that I listened to the universe by way of my own sessions, but also by way of my students' sessions as well. So that's my main update. And then I wanted to share a couple of really, really nice updates for my clients as well, because I want to make sure that you realize that the magic is not about me. The magic is about hypnosis. It's about soul empowering hypnosis, and that it works so beautifully for those who experience it well beyond just little me. All right, so the first client that I'm thinking about, and I'll probably stick with just this one story because I want to make sure that I keep it within the time frame of the updates, so that you're not just listening to an hour of me talk about hypnosis, because I could. All right, so I'll just keep it to this one client. He's such a perfect story because he recently had a hypnosis session with me just a few weeks ago, and he also is one of my longest time clients. So I've been doing this work as a hypnotherapist since 2014, and he started as a client with me back in 2016. So he's been with me almost the entirety of my hypnotherapy career, which is amazing. And so when he first came to me for his very first session back in 2016, he's a really, really smart guy. Really smart guy. Like, I refer to him as a good guy hacker. Like, that's what he does in the world. He's a good guy hacker. And so back then, even though he was getting paid really, really well, he had a lot of stress and concern about his finances. And it was more that even though his bank account was doing great, his career was doing great, it's that he grew up in a very, very financially strapped situation. And so his energy, his emotions, his stress levels were still carrying that old energy where he was stressed about money, even though technically he really did not need to be in his current position. So again, this is back in 2016. We have our first session. He's working on his anxiety, his stress about finances. Session goes great. Then we have a few more sessions. So he's starting to dream bigger, right? Like he's letting go of his worries about money, and he's starting to think like, maybe I can call in even more just for fun, right? And so I remember he had a session back in 2017, and he was asking the universe, when would he have $1 million in the bank? I was like, good for you, man, go for it. And so they said to him that he would have $1 million in the bank by 2020. And I remember him seeming so disappointed that it would take 3 full years. Me, meanwhile, I was like, man, that's pretty awesome. That's really soon, actually. And so he was a little forlorn that it would take 3 years, but he was like, okay, fine, better than never, right? And so and of course, I'm not in the middle of his bank account. I'm not like combing through his files and seeing like how all this is going. So I just wait for him to update me. And so he did update me in 2022 about that specific thing. And he said, oh, remember that session? Remember the prediction? He was like, it happened. And I'm like, good for you. Good for you. So got that update in 2022 that his finances were just like gangbusters. He was doing so good. Then most recently, so now we're in 2025, right? So his most recent session, he says to me, he was like, Courtney, you're never going to believe it. I'm feeling stressed about money again. I was like, are you kidding me, man? How? And so when you hear the story, it'll make sense. But still, I'm like, oh, geez, if we could all be so lucky to have these problems. So it's like, all right, I'm a little stressed out about money. I'm like, all right, tell me what's going on, man. Let's get prepared for this next session. And so he says to me, these are real numbers. I'm not exaggerating these numbers. He says to me, I'm doing really, really well at my current job, but it's very high stress. And I've been offered another job at a dream company. And you guys, I can't divulge what the company is, but you guys have definitely heard of this company and you would definitely go, holy wow. Like he's getting a job offer from that company. Yes, yes, he is. And he goes, but I'm going to have to take a significant pay cut to take this dream job. And I was like, okay, well, what are we talking about here? And he goes, well, I'm currently making $1 million per year. And I was like, did I just hear you say that you're making $1 million per year? He goes, yeah. And I was like, can we just pause? Can I just congratulate you for a second? It was like, yeah, thanks. I'm like, yeah. Wow. So he said, but here's where the money stress comes from. I really, really, really want to take this dream job, but I'm going to have to take a huge pay cut. It only pays $200,000 per year. I was like, okay, that is definitely a large chunk of change that you'd be walking away from. I get why there's money stress involved. And so I said, how are your finances? Like, how's your savings account? Like, is your house paid for? He was like, house is paid for, the land, he bought a nice chunk of land, the land is paid for, savings are really, really good. And I was like, so this is just kind of your old money stress coming to the surface again. Like stress isn't actually real. You're actually okay, right? And he was like, yeah, exactly. So let's just take care of it once and for all. I was like, okay, let's do it. So and again, we've been working together for 9 years. I mean, not all day, every day, but over the course of 9 years, we've had sessions and we had the most beautiful session. Like it was so powerful. It was so rich. It was so layered. It was so deep. And he even said to me at the end of the session, he was like, this is saying a lot. I think that's the best session we've ever had. And I was like, I do too. And so what's great about SEH, Soul Empowering Hypnosis, and this work is that I continue to evolve. The clients continue to evolve, but then SEH itself, the hypnotherapy practice, also continues to evolve. So if you have ever had an SEH session before, have another one. Like it's so good. Like it's even better than ever. And if you've never had an SEH session, dear Lord, stop waiting. Like book one now because they are amazing. And if you would like to book one with me, you just go to CourtneyStarkey.com. Pro tip, please click on the red heart that says save money because you will save a lot of money. And I do reserve those reduced price sessions for the clients who are thinking about becoming SEH students. But if you are a friend of April and you're watching this, I am very happy to give you that discount. Maybe you'll still want to become an SEH certified hypnotherapist. That, of course, can be in your future. But even if you're not planning to become one, please still click on the red heart and you'll save hundreds of dollars. And that is my gift to you because you love April and I love April. And I'm just so happy that we are all in this beautiful circle together. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you have also had an amazing last 3 years and continue to have an amazing, amazing life. All right, I'll see you guys later. Maybe 3 years from now. Maybe in a hypnosis session really, really soon. Okay, bye. Love you guys.
Ah, Courtney. That's so sweet. Okay, and another cool thing that Courtney is currently doing on her YouTube channel, it's free hypnosis every night. She is going Stephen Farmer's Book of Animals, and every night she started at I mean, like aardvark, and every night is doing a guided hypnosis live on YouTube. And I think she just did hippo the other night, which got my attention because I love hippo. Hippo is one of my favorite spirit animals. She has quite a few animals yet to go, so you haven't missed that. Just subscribe to her channel, and I believe that happens around 7 Central Time each night, 7 or 8. So yeah, I invite you to check that out. And even though that's the last video I have queued, I remember that Lori sent me a video as well. So let me find that, and then we will close out with her recording.
Hello, hello, this is Lori Crawford of In Providing Life. And where am I now? Quite literally and quite often on this very couch. I am navigating the hopefully tail end of about a 6-month season of literally having to reset and shut down and only do what is necessary for survival. And I'm okay with that. For 5 of those months, I was not okay with this. But I'm also so grateful that through this experience, I also am feeling this, knowing this, that rest doesn't feel like enough anymore. It doesn't feel right because my energy wants to be going towards things now that bring new energy and freshness and opportunity back into my life. And so I'm about 2 weeks into that realization that I am needing more. I am wanting and desiring to be out in the world more. And so trying to practice grace with this next shift as well, to understand that old patterns of urgency, if I have to act now or it won't happen, can very easily creep up. And how can I bridge my recent experience with having to slow down with now opportunities of choosing how I restart, and what does that look like? So right now what that looks like is having a few newer ideas for how to restructure my business, how to have offers that don't require so much done for you work, so much of my time and energy that my body has made very clear, I was overextending myself in so many ways. And so I'm playing with this idea of creating a library, or like a library, right? But a lifetime access library of audio meditations and trainings to help you feel into what your body, your spirit, and mind actually need, and sort of microdose your emotional and energetic needs instead of waiting for everything to pile up until you're at overload, right? To be able to have somewhere to go where you're sort of looking at this thesaurus, or really more an encyclopedia of different ways you could be supported in that moment, and choose one, and in 5 or 6 minutes have this meditative or embodied practice experience that helps you clear out some of that gunk that otherwise would have you getting closer to falling apart than you may want to. And also just to really think of how can the idea of treat yourself be something that goes beyond just the magical power of like a good baked good, right? What's something where the sort of time you put into it amplifies the impact of what you're experiencing. So that's one thing that I'm playing with. And I'm also playing with this idea as I shift away from doing any sort of grant writing for clients. That era of life is just long over. 13 years is just a lot. But shifting and realizing that I have this really incredible ability to see patterns and to see in others their energy leaks and the inefficiencies of how you're stretching yourself too thin, or perhaps not realizing that there's another way possible for you. So playing with this idea of being a project manager for folks to essentially tell them what to do and then they go do it. And then I hold that space and help them be accountable to themselves with the structure that's right for them. And really the part I'm excited to play with is that this is going to be personalized project management through human design. So what system do they particularly need to be able to untangle all of the cords of their thoughts, to sort of make the pathway that's in front of them more navigable, and ultimately help them redesign, whether it's a business project, a life project, redesign their sort of operating system of self through this lens of it gets to be easier, it gets to be more humane, it gets to be more fun, and you get to be the most transformative version of yourself in all of the things that you do. And that's what I'm playing with right now. So we're here, we're going to be tinkering and playing and seeing what comes of it. And if you did listen to my episode with April, I'm going to invite you to re-listen to it again soon. I'm going to be re-listening to it. I'm giving myself the month of May, right? So I'm not giving myself unrealistic deadlines, but I'm really curious now after recording this to share with you all, to go back and hear and then have that comparison for myself of where was I then, what have I experienced since, and where do I find myself now. And as always, as I say, have a razzle-dazzle day. And if that's not accessible, you can put an F on front and have a frazzle-dazzle day. And thank you so much, April, for this opportunity and for the community that you curate and for your dedication to bringing people together to have conversations that are meaningful and tender and really momentous and magical for everyone who's involved.
Okay, so there was Lori's video. I found it. I think that's really cool what she's doing with the human design piece of this. She's a projector. So I think it's really cool. She is really embodying this role of guide, and people will be coming to her, right, for her special role as guide and her projector wisdom and vision and things like that. So yeah, energy leaks and how people can be doing things differently, more efficiently. I think it's beautiful. So I highly recommend that you check that out. Her emails, if you sign up for her emails, they're just fun. They are real and they are fun. She just has this very entertaining, amusing way of talking about how life can just go wrong and how it just feels like it can feel pretty icky sometimes. She has a very humorous way of looking at those more challenging parts of life that feel very relatable. And like her ability to put that little spin on it, like we talked about in our podcast, making other choices accessible, making things more humane and fun. She's all about the fun, and I am really excited about that too. I've been wondering how much of me putting these websites and offerings out there have I been listening to my own, I'm a projector in human design, and then that means waiting for invitations. And it depends on who you talk to. Sometimes those invitations can be invitations that you feel from within. And to that point, I did feel like I really wanted to share on a podcast. And I wanted to share all the cool things I was learning on my website and the tarot offerings on that. It was fun. And but just there not being any traction. She talked about baked goods, and it reminded me from the conversations I had with my husband recently, because I was kind of trying to talk it out and try to figure out if I should feel bad for not continuing on. Because in the past, I have had people say, "Well, April, you just need to get rid of your expectations, not expect anything, and just do it because you love it." And so I kind of mentioned that to him, seeing if he was going to say the same thing or what. And he was like, forget that. He's like, think about it as a bakery. Maybe you love baking things, but every day you're baking something and it's there. And if no one wants it, you're having to throw that stuff out at the end of the day. That's going to wear on a person, whether you love what you're doing or not. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. I felt so much affirmation, acknowledgement of what I've been feeling and experiencing. And it just felt really good to have that. It's okay to stop. It's okay to stop. I can surrender this thing and I'm still going to be okay. I do not have to be a podcaster. I do not have to have some type of spiritual offering online to be giving to the world in my own way. So it may feel like a smaller way, but it's going to be authentic. And I'm going to be doing it from a place of physical health, of calm, of generosity, of respectability, and ecology, right? So, anyway, I want to thank everyone for their kind words that they said about me in the podcast, and see if there's anything else I want to say before I sign off. Just that I want to encourage you to be you. That's all I know. The world needs you, and the world needs us to be and feel okay, just like Peggy was saying. Like, whatever way we show up in the world, it's best from a place of love and kindness and generosity and not from fear. And that's part of of this surrender too. I'm surrendering the fear of not being important. I'm surrendering the fear of not making an impact. I'm surrendering the fear of not leaving a legacy or being important in some way. And just allowing myself to be enveloped by the knowledge that I am loved as I am, and that the more I can just accept and love people for where they are, it's going to be a better world. Right? Anyway, for however long you've been on this sandbox journey with me, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's love and gratitude from the bottom of my heart. And I am and will remain forever accessible at my Gmail, aprilific@gmail.com. Feel free to send me a note. As Amanda at Barney and Flo enter podcasts, wherever you are, whenever you are, I wish you well.